already we explained that two important. One is that what about the reforms introduced in banking sector. Secondly, we explain what about the money market reforms. So based on this, the third important reforms that is introduced is known as government securities market reform, and fourth is that capital market reform, and last is that insurance reform. These are the 5 important components are included in financial sector reforms. We completed banking sector reforms and also that is a money market reforms. And third is that what about the government securities market reform here. Firstly, what is meant by government securities or securities market? Security market it considered as a component of financial market. It is a component of financial market that is where the securities are bought and sold. It is a component of wide financial market. It is a component of wide financial market where securities are bought and sold. So the market mainly deal government securities like bonds and securities mainly deal in the security market. So thus it as a part or component of that is a financial market here. So what are the main important characteristics of the security here? Securities are that is it issued by central government and state government. Securities are that is it is issued by that is securities are that is issued or it is started issued by central government and also state government. At the same time, it is highly liquidity in character, highly liquid at the same time, and third character is that it is highly safety, then highly liquidity at the same time issued by central and state government. These are the important characteristics of the securities here. Highly, that is safety, then liquidity, then issued by central and both central and state government issued the securities. At the same time, it considered maturity also. Maturity also taken into account when you issue the security here. These are the some of the important characteristics. So, what is meant by security market? What are the important characteristics? Characteristics that is equal to liquidity, safety, maturity, and issued by central and state government. So, you got some idea about the security here or security market here. So, the question is that what are the important problems existed before 1991? At the same time, what are the important reforms introduced since 1991? Or which are the difficulties before 1991 in the government security market, and what about the important reforms introduced after 1991 or since 1991? When we evaluate the difficulties of the security market, mainly it shows that government securities and treasury bills, they are considered as underdeveloped. That's one of the main problem or difficulties of the security market is that in the case of the securities and treasury bills, they are considered as underdeveloped. There is no performance evaluation or there is no much development in the case of issuing treasury bills and also security. That is, it shows the quality like they are underdeveloped or the characteristics like underdeveloped. That's the first problem. About underdevelopment of the securities and the government securities and treasury bill is the one of the main difficulty. And second is that here there is it lacked liquidity. In the case of that is government security market, the securities or instruments are it possesses lacked liquidity, or there is exists a lack of liquid character. Lack of liquidity and underdevelopment of the treasury bills and government securities are the main problem existed before 91. That's underdevelopment and lack of liquidity. These are the main problem existed before 1991. Then, in order to overcome this problem, now here there is an introduction of some of the reform after 1991 or since 1991. Which are the main important reform here? The first is that maximum coupon rate of interest on central government loans, that is government loans, is fixed at near market rate at the time of issuing. That is, first here there is a coupon rate of interest, or here there is a coupon rate of interest on government loans or central government loans. This is near to the market rate of interest. That firstly, what is meant by coupon rate? Coupon rate shows that this is the expected income of the investor at the time, that is, it is the expected income of the investor at the time of issuing. So coupon rate of interest considered as the annual income of the income of the investor expected to receive by holding a particular bond. That is, that is coupon rate considered as the annual income of a investor. Annual income of an investor, that is, he is expected to receive at, that is, possessing or holding a particular bond. That is, a particular bond he is keeping with he. So what is the expected income annually? That is represented as coupon rate. So the difference is that coupon rate of interest, it is fixed. That is rate of interest on central government loans. That is coupon rate. That is coupon rate of interest on central government loans is fixed at, that is the market rate at the time of issuing. That's, which is the market rate is prevailing here. So based on this, it fixed the coupon rate of interest. That is the importance of the first important reform. The first is that introduction of coupon rate of interest on central government loans. It is fixed at the time of issuing at market rate of interest. Based on the market rate, they fixed the coupon rate of interest. Coupon rate shows that this is the annual income expected by an investor, that is to possess a or holding a particular bond. He had a particular bond, but about the annual income possessed or annual income earned or expected to receive by an investor, that is known as the coupon rate. And second important reform is that here there is a variety of treasury bills introduced here. That is, the second important reform is that variety of treasury bills. The treasury bills like 91 days of treasury bill, 181, 364 day treasury bill. Such three important treasury bills are introduced by the government, like 91 days. Then here there is a 181 day, and third is that 364 treasury bills introduced. That is known as variety of treasury bill introduced. And third important reform is that some other instruments here, government, that is in the case of, in order to improve the security market, government introduced so many securities or so many instruments, security instruments like zero coupon rate, then capital indexed bonds and tap stocks, etc. That's zero coupon rate shows that coupon rate of interest, this is considered as zero. No rate of interest in the case of possessing the or holding the particular bond. Zero coupon rate. Then capital indexed bonds. Capital indexed bonds shows that base payment of, that's bonds base payment rise and fall according to the consumer price index. Based on the consumer price index, that is, here there is a rise and fall of bonds base payment. That is, what about the payment here? This bonds payment, this can vary or rise or fall according to the, that is, consumer price index, that is known as the capital index. Here there is a increase in the consumer price index, automatically increase the pay, that's base payment of bonds, that is known as capital indexed bonds. And third, in the case, third instrument is tap stock. This is the, it is issued, authorized issue of bonds, at the same time availability of bonds. That is the main important quality of tap stocks. That's issuing, or that's authorized issue here, at the same time availability also possible. Such a type of bonds is known as tap stocks. These are the three important instruments introduced here. Like zero coupon rate shows that no interest rate on bonds. And capital indexed bond show that is the bonds base payment rise or fall according to the consumer price index. Tap stocks represent as this is the authorization of the issue. That's these type of bonds and securities are issued authorized. That's at the same time authorization plus it is here there is a availability is possible. Such bonds is known as tap stock. These are the other important instruments are issued here. And next is that primary dealer and satellite dealer. Primary dealer is that this is RBI registered firms that they are purchase bonds directly. That's it possess the quality. They purchase that's because they are RBI registered firms. Primary dealer show that here there is these firms are RBI registered. So it possesses the quality like that's direct purchasing of bonds. That's known as satellite. That's direct purchase is possible here. That is not known as primary dealer. And satellite dealer also. Satellite dealer possess that. They can possess a certificate. Authorized certificate possessed by. That is this certificate authorized by the RBI. So they are also available here to deal the bonds and securities. Primary dealer and satellite dealer introduced. Primary dealer show that is it is in the case of RBI registered firms. They can purchase the securities directly. That is government securities is purchased directly. That is known as primary dealer. That is primary dealer represent as that is RBI registered firms. RBI registered firms, they can directly purchase government securities. Such dealers are known as primary dealers. They are ready to purchase government securities. There is no objection or there is no problem or restriction is that in the case of they are ready to purchase government securities directly because it had that is such firms they are registered by the RBI. At the same time, satellite dealer show that satellite dealer they can holding a particular authorized letter. That is this authorization letter that is issued by RBI. Authorization letter which is that is issued by RBI. If they have such they are ready to purchase the government securities, that is known as satellite dealer. One is that is government registered firm, they are directly purchase government securities, and second satellite dealer show that they possess a particular certificate that is known as authorization letter. This letter issued by RBI. So such that is known as satellite dealers. This also introduced the another important reform of that is government security market. And next point is that automatic monetization of central government budget. Automatic monetization of central government budget. It shows that if there is a budgetary deficit emerge, they can evolve treasury bills. In the year 1997, they introduced ways and means. WAYS. Ways and means introduced in the year of 1997. Here there is a mismatch of receipt and expenditure. Government introduced ways and means in the year of 1997. It process that the quality is that it possesses long-term fund availability. Long-term funds availability is possible. Here there is an introduction of ways and means. Thus, it can raise this automatic monetization shows that automatic monetary support can be possible because of the introduction of that is avoid the treasury bills and introduction of ways and means. Thus, here there is a easy availability of long-term funds to fill up the gap between receipt and expenditure. That's known as automatic monetization of central government budget deficit. Central government budget. If there is a budgetary deficit between income and expenditure, to get long-term funds, government introduce ways and means and replace treasury bills. That is known as automatic monetization. And next point is that RBI started to support liquidity. In order to improve the liquidity, RBI introduced that's mutual funds. Mutual funds introduced by the government, that's mutual funds introduced by RBI in order to improve the liquidity provision. To improve the liquidity, RBI started mutual funds. That is another important reform. And next is that foreign institutional investors 100% debt funds allowed to invest in government treasury bills and government securities. That's foreign institutional investors are now they are allowed 100% debt. 100% debt funds are invested in treasury bills or government securities. Here there is an investment of treasury bills and government securities allowed to foreign institutional investors. 100% debt funds. They are ready to invest in treasury bills and government securities. And last is that interest on income. That is interest income on government securities exempted from tax. Here there is a that is tax exemption allowed to the income on interest government securities. That is here there is a interest on government securities. Now it exempted from the tax. These are the main important reforms like the first is that here there is a introduction of coupon rate of interest fixed at the market rate. And second is that variety of treasury bills like 91, 181 and 364. And other instruments like zero coupon, capital index and tax stocks. And fourth is that primary dealers and satellite dealers are introduced here. Then automatic monetization of central government budget by that is replacement of treasury bills with the help of here there is a ways and means. And next RBI support. There is liquidity by introduction of mutual funds. And next is that now FII, foreign investors 100% debt funds are allowed to invest in treasury bills and government securities. And last is that interest on securities, they are exempted from the tax. These are the main important reforms introduced in government securities. So firstly we analyze what are the problems before 1991. After we explain what are the important reforms after 1991. These are the important reforms introduced in government security market. This is the another important component of financial sector reforms. Last reform in the financial sector reform, that is equal to insurance market reforms. In short, there are 5 sectors here. One is that financial sector reforms, that is equal to banking sector reforms plus money market reforms plus government security market reforms plus capital market reforms, and last is that insurance market reform. Insurance market reform. Before 1991, there is insurance companies like life insurance corporation plus general insurance companies owned by or controlled by government or public sector. Before 1991, 4 life insurance corporation and 1 general insurance companies controlled and owned by public sector. Because on the part of competition and globalization, now insurance companies that's undertaken or taken by the private sector. Now after the globalization and liberalization and the part of competition, now private sector started insurance company. But in order to control and regulate, IRDA started by the government. IRDA means Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority. In order to control and regulate private insurance company, a particular authority appointed by the government, that is known as Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority. These are the main important points here. The first is that all that is in the form of general insurance companies and life insurance corporation owned by public sector before 1991. On the part of globalization and competition, now insurance companies are owned or it is started by the or allowed to start by the private sector. In order to control and regulate the private sector insurance company, a particular body appointed by the government, that is known as IRDA, Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority. These are the important reforms here. So, before 1991, 4 life insurance corporation and 1 general insurance company under the public sector. After 1991, a new reform that is known as IRDA. These are the main reforms introduced in insurance sector. Now we completed here financial sector reforms. So what about the financial sector reforms? That is equal to the summation of banking sector reforms, money market, government security, capital market and insurance market. That is equal to financial sector reforms.